Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So let us seek the blessings of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna and Balaram, Gaunitai, Shri Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled Vaishnava, so that we can continue with the overview of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, and today we want to have a look at the 73rd chapter. So this is an interesting verse from this chapter, text number 14.
Tonaraja Mrigatishti Rupitam Dehina Sashvat Patata Ujambuva Upashitavyam Sriyavya Mahevibo Kriya Phalam Pretyacha Karana Rochanam. Translation: never again will we hanker for mirage-like kingdom, a kingdom that must be slavishly served by this mortal body, which is simply a source of disease and suffering, which is declining at every moment. Nor, O Almighty Lord, will we hanker to enjoy the heavenly fruits of pious work in the next life, since the promise of such rewards is simply an empty enticement for the ears.
So this is the kings who have been liberated by Krishna, praying to the Lord, and some amazing realizations they've got. To have a kingdom is perhaps a desirable thing, especially for Kshatriyas. But here, what they're saying, actually it's a source of disease and suffering. So often we even see this in religious organizations, there's a power struggle, politics, and, somebody wants to become, like maybe the guru or the leader. But actually, it's a source of disease and suffering, even within the religious context, because it's only name and fame that one is after. So this is a really very important instruction that the kings give us, that simply we should serve. Simply we want to have this desire to serve. No name, no fame, no control over others, thinking that we are the controllers. This is where the source of all the problems are, where the false ego comes in play. Anyway, let's have a look at this chapter. Lord Krishna blesses the liberated kings. This chapter relates how Lord Krishna, after freeing the kings imprisoned by Jarasandha, mercifully gave them his audience and bestowed royal gifts upon them. When Lord Krishna freed the 20,800 kings Jarasandha had imprisoned, they immediately fell to the ground to pay him obeisances. Can you imagine? There was 20,000 of them. There was just one Jarasandha. Yet they were humbled by that one man. As these kings emerged from the Giridroni fortress, they appeared dirty and shabbily dressed. They'd been in prison for a long time. They were emaciated by hunger. Their faces were dried up. They were greatly weakened by their long imprisonment. The kings then stood with joined palms and began to pray to Krishna. So these prayers are very instructive, and text 14 is one of them, which we just read. So the king said, "Since we have surrendered to you, please save us from this terrible material life." Now, they're not saying save us from, or initially they did, of course, they sent the messenger, save us from Jarasandha. But now, once they're free, they're saying, please save us from this terrible material life. It's not that, oh yeah, we're free, let's go and party. We do not blame anyone, since it is your mercy that kings fall from their position. So again, this is such an important instruction. Yes, we go through challenges in our life, but if we're always pointing fingers, it's your fault, it's his fault, it's that person's fault. We're not accepting responsibility. Ultimately, Krishna is in charge, and we're trying to become his devotee. He will look after us. He cares for us. He loves us. So nothing can happen to us which is not good for us, because the Lord has his good wishes upon us. So even we may come across some terrible challenges, yet somehow or other, we have to get into the mood of thanking him. My dear Lord, thank you for this challenge. Let me never forget you while I'm going through this. Let me engage in your savor. So we do not blame anyone, because it's the mercy of the Lord that we have this challenge upon us. Infatuated with opulence and a ruling power, a king loses all self-restraint. It's not just the king. Every living entity, if they come in association with opulence and power, they lose self-control because the mind is not under control. Bewildered by the illusory energy, he imagines his assets to be permanent. Yes, we're living in this beautiful house, having this beautiful car with a wonderful family. It will never end, but it will end because there's something called death. And even before death, easily we can lose everything. The thing is permanent. Those who are irrational look upon the illusionary Maya as substantial. So Maya is what it is illusion. It's not, Maya means not what it is. So it is illusion. And we have to come to that realization that Maya is very strong, but Krishna is far stronger. So we want to conquer this earth. We wanted to conquer this earth, and we fought one another. We arrogantly disregarded you, O Lord, who stood before us. How? As death. So this is going to apply to every one of us. You know, if we somehow don't remain connected with the Supreme, then he's going to be before us as death. Now that you have destroyed our pride, we beg simply to remember your lotus feet. So this is the key. Just try to remember the Supreme Lord, whatever condition we're in. Never again, and this is the verse we read, will we hanker for a mirage-like kingdom, a source of suffering, Nor will we hanker to enjoy the heavenly fruits of pious work in the next life. So this is often a misconception that we do wonderful humanitarian works, we'll get wonderful results in our next life and we'll go to heaven. What's the big deal? Even heaven is temporary. Even from heaven we'll come back again to earth. What's the point? What's the point of all that endeavor of doing these pious activities if the result is that we're no better off than we were before doing it? Because we will ultimately use up the good karma from that pious act and again land back on earth, start all over again. Since the promise of such rewards is simply an empty enticement for the ears, that's all it is. It's just an empty enticement. Promise of something great, but actually it's insubstantial. Please tell us how we may constantly remember your lotus feet. So this is a very important question. You vanquish the sufferings of all who surrender to you. These are really extraordinary prayers and worth reading, worth going over because it describes our condition. Seeing their imprisonment as an act of mercy by the Lord to smash their false pride, the kings prayed only to be granted whatever would facilitate their perpetual remembrance of his lotus feet. So this is really key. So then the Lord, he advises the king, he assures them that their prayers will be fulfilled, and he instructs them. This is really incredible, one-to-one instruction. From now on, my dear kings, you will have firm devotion to me. This is because you have come to the proper conclusion. I can see that human beings' lack of self-restraint simply leads to madness. This madness arises due to their intoxication with power, opulence, and power. This material body and everything connected with it has a beginning and an end. Thus, worship me by Vedic sacrifices and always keep your mind fixed on me whilst performing your duties. So those duties can include kingly duties, but still the trick is to put Krishna in the center and to have the mind fixed on Krishna. Be detached from the body and everything connected to it. Remain self-satisfied. You will ultimately attain me, the supreme absolute truth. So these are phenomenal instructions given by Krishna to the kings. So Lord Krishna then saw to it that the kings were properly bathed and dressed, and he had Sahadev. Sahadev's the son of Jarasan. He had Sahadev offer them flower garlands, jewelry, sandalwood pulp, fine clothing, and other things suitable for kings. Lord Krishna saw to it that they were dined on excellent food. He also presented them with various items befitting the pleasure of kings, such as bitunat. After having them adorned with jewels and golden ornaments, he seated them on chariots and sent them off to their respective kingdoms. Thus liberated from all difficulties by Krishna, the greatest of personalities, the kings departed. And as they went, they thought only of him, the Lord of the universe, and of his wonderful deeds. In accordance with the orders the Lord gave them, they began to carry out their various duties again. So this is one of the things that we have to try to do. Everybody has duties as householders or as parents or as children. So we can't neglect those duties because they've been given to us by divine arrangement. But what we can do is offer those duties, offer the results from those duties to the Lord. Try to remember him, put him in the center of our existence. That way we become successful. Okay. Then Lord Keshava, he accepted worship from King Sahadev. So Sahadev was a devotee. He had a lot of association with the Brahmins who his father loved. But he didn't have the inimical attitude towards Krishna that his father had. So he was blessed. So now Krishna, he accepted the worship from Sahadev. This is really very unique. And then departed with his two sons of Pratha. When they arrived at Indraprasth, the victorious heroes blew their conch shells, bringing joy to their well-wishing friends and sorrow to their enemies. The residents of Indraprasth were very pleased to hear that sound, for they understood that now the king of Magadha has been put to rest. Yudhishthir felt that his desires were now fulfilled. Bhim, Arjun, and Janardhan offered their respects to the king and informed him fully about what they had done. Upon hearing their account of the great favor Lord Keshav had mercifully shown them, King Dharamraj shed tears of ecstasy. He felt such love that he could not say anything. So that's the end of the chapter. Amazing chapter because there's so much instruction in this chapter. Worth going through again and again, this chapter, because it sort of describes our sort of dichotomy in life and gives us very good direction. So if anybody would like to add anything, Surinder, anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat everybody, Nitai Gaura Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Sri Nityananda Chandram, Patita Sharanadam, Gauradam Tam Bhajiham. Very nice and very instructive, this pastimes of Krishna, which you explained very well, Prabhu. So many instructions. So the key points is about surrender. We should worship Krishna in the mood of surrender. We should worship and remember Krishna in the mood of surrender, Saranagati. So, which comprises 6 limbs of Sharanagati. We should accept everything favorable for Krishna consciousness. We should reject everything unfavorable for practicing Krishna consciousness. We should have firm faith that Lord Krishna will protect us. We should accept Krishna as our guardian. And we should, 5th one is full self-surrender. And the last one is surrender in humility. So all these 6 limbs of Sharanagati we have when we practice our Krishna consciousness, but we should pray to Sri Guru, Gauranga and Vaishnavas to be blessed to practice in a devotional mood our Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, remembering Krishna, there was Kans, he also remembered Krishna, but out of fear. And also Shishupal remembered Krishna, but he was insulting Lord Krishna. And like that. So they were not favorable. Even Utanka, after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he came and he said, "Oh Krishna, you could have stopped all this war, and so many lives could have been saved, but you didn't do that. So I'm going to curse you." And Krishna told Utanka, "Don't throw your curse upon me, because I'm situated in the Nirguna plane. Your curse will not touch me. But on the other hand, you will lose all the power of the austerity you have, the merits of your austerity will be lost." And then Utanka, he abided by Lord Krishna's advice, and he didn't curse. So in this way, we try to remember and serve Krishna favorably in devotional mood. So here we see these kings, they had this self-realization that this body and everything related to the body is temporary. And therefore, we should not be attached to our body, and the extended with the body, attachment to our body, identification with the body is a false ego. And then we start in this materialistic concept of I, me, and mine. And then there is extended ego, with like the family members and society, etc. So this Leela has taught us to be free from this false ego and to be situated in our proper true ego, that you are a spiritual servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishna Nita Das, 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 Anudas, like that. So similarly in Chaitanya Lila, there is one king. His name is King Prataparudra. And there is a verse in Prem Dham Deva Stotram regarding King Prataparudra surrendering to Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The verse is as follows. Prema Mugdha Rudra Raja Soya Virya Vikramam Partitangli Varjitanya Sarva Dharma Sangamam Luntita Pratapa Sesha Pada Dhuli Dhusharam Premadham Devam Eva Nomi Gaura Sundaram Premadham Devam Eva Nomi Gaura Sundaram. When northern India was under Muslim rule, that great kingly emperor of the independent state of Orissa, King Prataparudra, was completely wonderstruck and overtaken by the magnanimity, prowess, and activities that Lord Chaitanya exhibited in pure love of Godhead. The great King Prataparudra rejected all his earlier ties with traditional religiosity and his valiant kingly nature, and he threw himself before the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Dev in full surrender. The merciful Lord then bathed the surrendered emperor's head with the sacred dust of his tender lotus feet. I offer my obeisances to that beautiful golden Lord, Gauranga Sundar, the divine form of Krishna Prema. So again, with this Leela, whereby King Prataparudra offered full Dandavat, Shastanga, Dandavat Pranam to Gauranga Mahaprabhu, And Gauranga Mahaprabhu mercifully placed and blessed King Prataparudra by placing his feet, holy lotus feet on the head of King Prataparudra. And in this way, King Prataparudra fully surrendered in devotional mood at the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Nitai Gaura Haribol Prabhu, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Very important instructions.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Surinder. Madhusudan Babu?
It's not there, sorry.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, my little point about is Krishna instructs so simply, yet we are unable to follow because of the Kali Yug's advancement. And I feel quite sad that myself, knowing that it's so simple to follow instructions, we don't do it. Anyway, these are the instructions from my husband. Chapter 73, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. It is important to note how Krishna reassures all the kings freed from the imprisonment by Jarathan and instructs them, worship me by performing Vedic sacrifices and protect your subjects in accordance with the principles of religion, fixing your mind on me, beget progeny, and remain always equipoised in happiness and distress. Thus, at the end of your lives, you will surely attain me. Their prayers are answered. He also enthroned Sahadev, Jarasan's son, and instructs him the same. So, should take the instructions ourselves too. Haribo.
Yeah, no, for sure. Instructions are easy, but our ego and the sense enjoyment factors sort of take over, and it's so easy to forget these instructions because Maya is so strong, it just overpowers. But what to do? We just have to keep doing our best, and we'll see later on how in Kali Yuga, we are actually extremely fortunate, and this is a wonderful opportunity. So Bhagavatam is very encouraging, especially to us in this age of Kali Yuga. So, and it's wonderful to have this opportunity actually to go through this incredible scripture. So, anybody else, any questions, any comments? Okay, let's go to the Singer Coach and we can pray for the protection of the Supreme Lord so that we can continue our service to